It's my great honor to introduce Ms. Nneka Henry, head of the UN Road Safety Fund. Ms. Henry will share with us who the UN Road Safety Fund is, what they do, and how they can envision collaborating with stakeholders here in Bahrain to enhance road safety efforts. Please join me in warmly welcoming Ms. Nneka Henry to the stage.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's my absolute pleasure to be here in Bahrain. It's my first visit, and I'm already making plans to vacation and maybe even move here. It's fabulous. I really love your country. So thank you for your warm hospitality so far, and I'm looking forward to spending the next few minutes just sharing a little bit about the work that I do at the United Nations on road safety, which I can see is a topic that is on top of mind for many of you, and hopefully also embedded in the hearts of many of you. So I wanted to start by sharing, I wanted to share why we exist as the UN Road Safety Fund. And thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa, for already setting the stage and the tone for this. Because my first slide was really going to be around the global situation. Why is this a global crisis that there actually has to be a sustainable development goal around halving road deaths? And these numbers were already touched upon by Dr. Mustafa, so I won't spend too much time on this here. Rather, what I will do is drill down a little bit into some statistics which should be interesting for you to really showcase why a UN Road Safety Fund needs to exist. So what you see here is some information about the death rate, the road death rates in different regions. And if we start with what's happening in the Eastern Mediterranean region, which is where we find the Gulf countries being classified, we see that the Kingdom of Bahrain is doing relatively well when you consider that the average death rate in the region is 16.4 per 100,000. But we know that the numbers behind this is quite disturbing. We heard the absolute numbers just a few moments ago, and even one death is too much. But relatively speaking, we see that there is a lot of progress in terms of getting the numbers down, but we can still go lower. And I say this because we know the countries that are implementing and investing in road safety, they're at 1 and 2. So where I live right now in Switzerland, for example, it's 2 per 100,000. In countries like Sweden, it's also 2 per 100,000. So we know it's possible to attain a lower ratio. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you can see that there is still quite some room for improvement. In fact, it actually is exceeding the average for the region. So there's a lot to do there. In fact, that's a country that I'm going to tomorrow to have similar discussions with stakeholders there. And you can see the rest of the numbers. Interestingly, I wanted to point out, because it's from your region, that 2 years ago, the World Health Organization did their global status report, where they look around all the world to see how countries are doing and performing, and which countries are actually already meeting the SDG target to halve road deaths. And there were 10 countries that they found were already meeting the target. And among the 10 countries, we have found the United Arab Emirates. So within your region, there's already one country that has successfully met this target. So again, even closer to home, we know it's possible. We don't even have to look to Europe. We see that, I think it was about 12 years ago, United Arab Emirates was reporting 12 deaths per 100,000. And in the last report, as assessed by the WHO, they were down to 6. And that's how they were able to meet this target and to be among the top 10 countries doing that. So the reason that I'm putting Africa there, it's because even though countries still have room for improvement, so the gaps that we face in Bahrain, for example, and I will talk a little bit about what some of those gaps are. The road safety gaps that are happening here and in the region there are other countries that are facing exactly the same gaps. But there are some nuances, because even though you have similar gaps, the repercussion, the death rate is exponentially higher in those countries. So I just wanted to showcase Africa, for example. So Guinea, which is in Africa, has one of the highest death rates, road death rates. It's already up to 37 per 100,000, so it's quite high. And you can see some of the examples from Ghana, Kenya, and Tanzania. So just to show that one of the main reasons that we were created was to really see how we can close that gap. Because the knowledge on road safety is applicable to all countries. I mean, you adapt, you prioritize, but the knowledge is there. The evidence is there. We know that you need to build the road a certain way. We know that you need to invest in education and awareness. We know that, for example, the vehicles must be safe and they must have safety features, and the list goes on and on and on. But for some reason, the gaps that countries are facing are having different results. And we have a special envoy who represents the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Guterres. The special envoy is called Mr. Jean Todt, and he travels around the world advocating to ministers, the heads of states, to really explain the gravity of the situation, but also to relate to them that there are solutions that can be implemented. And as he's doing this work, he's been doing this now 10 years, he realized that actually the countries that are having the highest rates, they really have a critical challenge in terms of knowledge and how to apply that knowledge, and also resources to invest in improving the systems. They really don't even know where to start. Sometimes the conversations, even myself, with ministers of transport, it's astounding the little knowledge that is there within a Ministry of Transport. And so we see, and Mr. Todd, he saw that there was a real need for knowledge transfer and for capacity building. And that is when he took the initiative to form the UN Road Safety Fund. And he did this by collecting, let's say, like-minded stakeholders, mostly from the private sector. So many private sector companies, including, for example, Total Energies, came to the table. Bahrain, the government of Bahrain, from the Ministry of Interior, also came to the table. And we had many other stakeholders coming to the table and making a financial contribution to actually set up the UN Road Safety Fund. And I will go in a little bit of detail about what we're doing. But this is kind of the origin of the UN Road Safety Fund. And this was in 2018. Mr. Todd has his mandate since 2015. So in the first 3 years, he understood the problem. He took some steps to set up the fund, and then we've been operating since then. It's not here, so this is not the latest deck I had, but I had a little box there that was showing you what was happening in neighboring countries as well, because I thought it would be of interest to you. And I wanted to show you that because even though the rate for the region is 16.4 and Bahrain is 7, it's not really a cause for celebration when you consider the other countries that are in the Eastern Mediterranean region. So the reason that the average is so high is because you're also considering that, for example, in countries like Afghanistan, it's 24.1. And countries like Morocco, it's 19 per 100,000. So just to say that, it's not an absolute comfort that Bahrain is at 7 or that Qatar is at 7, because you're comparing in a way to countries that are really having a very bad situation. So the point here is that there's always room for improvement. I will pause there and maybe go to another slide. So let's see if I. Okay. So maybe I'll start here. So why road safety matters. Just to touch on this, I know that we have the Ministry of Labor here, Ministry of Interior, but also most of you are from industry, from background, from other companies. And I just wanted to flag, if it wasn't immediately obvious to you, that even though Bahrain could be considered relatively safe compared to other countries in the world when it comes to road safety, there is still there's some economic, societal interest in thinking about road safety. And I just wanted to spend 2 seconds just to flag those. So essentially, what we discuss with or potential partners on coming to the UN Road Safety Fund and coming to work on road safety is really flagging the global alignment and the fact that working on road safety can make a real contribution to community safety, which I think is of great interest to Bahrain and to many industry players. But also, I like to say that safety sells, because there is so much cost, apart from losing a life, which is huge for the family and for the community. There's so much cost associated with the road crashes, from vehicle damage to loss of productivity and also other disruptions to the business. Credibility as well. I also understood that when you're safer and you can report safety benchmarks, you can also get some economic benefits. For example, better deals on your insurance, for example, as an industry player. So just wanted to just briefly highlight that, of course, aside from societal impact, there's also an economic impact behind this road safety story that I think should be also in the back of our heads as we think about why we want to get involved in working on road safety. So I wanted to go back here now because I will go a little bit more deeper into what it is that the UN Road Safety Fund has been doing for the last 7 years. And my starting point is actually looking at some of the road safety gaps in Bahrain. I'll also flag some of the things that you've been doing particularly well. So what I wanted to show here is that even though Bahrain is a great country, beautiful, it's small, the hospitality is warm, and the fact that also you've been investing a lot in road safety in different aspects. I mean, the roads are so well maintained here compared to many other countries. And I understand that there are investments taking place in terms of use of technology to help with enforcement. And there are many measures that you're putting forward. But that being said, there are still some important gaps which could be attributed to the road crashes that we still are facing here in the country. For example, we know that there is no mandatory seatbelt requirement for people in the back of the car. And this is an issue which has proven to actually save lives when you do have a crash. We see some other gaps being mentioned here. We also know that there could be some room for improvement in terms of multidisciplinary crash investigation. How do we collect the data in the first place, but also how do we analyze the data so that you can understand where are the real priorities and triggers that you need to focus on for your future interventions. So there is always some room for improvement, even here in Bahrain. I also know from reading the newspapers that the motorcycle riders is an increasing problem here. The delivery riders are an increasing problem here. And these are not unique problems. As I said, we have the same issues in many other countries. But because you've been investing in other areas of the safety system, you're able to absorb a little bit these gaps that I'm just flagging here now. But it's not the case in other places, such as in Southeast Asia or Africa. If they have these same gaps, but their resilience is much lower because they're also having other gaps in other areas. So just wanted to flag that there is some commonality in terms of the gaps that we need to address, just so that you are aware of this, but also that you're aware of what's happening here in your own country. There are other issues that I know are relevant here. Speed, and that's also a global issue. And also distracted driving is increasingly a problem everywhere. So just again to underscore that the challenges are very much being shared. These are some of the examples of what Bahrain has been investing in to make it so resilient and to improve on the road safety record. And I'm sure, especially with having Minister of Interior here, this list would be far longer than what is here now. But this is just to show that we do recognize the efforts that are being made here, very important ones. So back to what we do here at the UN Road Safety Fund. So essentially, The first paragraph is quite important, which is basically saying that the countries that are creating their national road safety systems based on international regulatory framework, so based on international UN best practices, these are the countries that are really having the best performance in road safety, and this has really been proven. In fact, the safe system approach of tackling vehicle safety and post-crash emergency care and tackling road safety behavior and tackling road design and all these different aspects, tackling it as a system approach. This was originated in Sweden, so it's no surprise that Sweden and neighboring countries are doing extremely well when it comes to road safety because they've actually been implementing it in a systematic way based on international regulatory framework. And so this is the approach that the UN Road Safety Fund is taking. We are essentially providing support to UN member states using the safe system approach, and our framework of action is actually based on the safe system approach. So there you see the different areas that we work in and the different pillars that we work in. And this is a very known sort of matrix. This is sort of the safe system approach matrix. Essentially, we try to tackle everything that's here. We reach out every year to member states to ask them, how can we support? In what ways can we support? We're not there for 5 years. We're there to do a critical gap. So if you need help with the law on child restraints, we can come in and do the knowledge transfer, the capacity building to help you with that. If you are a city or a municipality and you are really trying to figure out how you're going to finance your national road safety plan or your strategy, but you need some ideas about what's working in other places to unlock financing for road safety, we can come in and do that knowledge transfer, that capacity building, and then we step back so you can continue the journey. So countries have to demonstrate that they're already walking the journey. They've faced a problem, a hurdle in the road. We will come in to help them to remove that hurdle, and then they continue the journey. And that's how the UN Road Safety Fund has been operating. So we're really covering all these different areas now. And after 7 years, we have been able to help 94 countries to close these kinds of gaps that I'm talking about. So putting in place a law or working with the police force on best practices around speed management, as we did. Well, I will give some examples later. So very happy about the kind of support that we provided. The challenge that we're facing at the fund, though, is that these 94 countries and the gaps that we're supporting them with closing, they have many other gaps to close. So we have an issue of scale. So we're always continually looking for partners to really help the fund to continue to provide the support to member states that they need. You can imagine a country, for example, like Morocco or Nigeria. You can pick any one of them. One gap that we close will not be enough to really help them meaningfully along the journey. And so we are continually getting requests for support, and we need to find a way through new partnerships to provide that support. I said that every year we ask member states how we can support. Every year, on average, we get around 100 requests. And every year, on average, we can only positively respond to 5 to 8 of them, based on the level of funding. So the scale is a real issue, and that's why part of my work involves, traveling around, exposing what the fund is doing, and hopefully engaging new partners to support us in different ways, which I will mention what those ways look like. So just giving you a little bit of a snapshot. So in 94 countries, we have over 50 projects. So I'm not going to go through all 52 projects that we have, but some of these issues, I found them to be quite relevant to the situation here in Bahrain. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a sample of what we're doing in those kinds of topics. Because we already have projects where, for example, even though it's benefiting Tunisia and it's benefiting Morocco, we have Oman self-funding to be part of our project because they also want to take away the lessons from the project to take back home. So even though we're orienting our resources to lower income countries, high income countries are all welcome to join because it's about learning and sharing. But we understand that Some lower income countries don't have the resources to implement, and so that's why we focus our resources towards them. But the learning is always available to all. Similarly, we also have industry players who join our projects on a similar basis. So even companies like Honda or Autoliv, Renault, and other companies, Total Energies Foundation as well, they join our projects depending on what the topic is. So Total Energies has a focus on youth, for example. And so when we have our programs that are benefiting youth, we see them coming to the table in terms of project design, just trying to understand how do we map out projects, how do we prioritize our work that promotes youth. So we welcome partners to the table, not just in terms of funders, but really how do we learn from you and how do we help you to progress in what you're doing. So it's really a partnership approach that we're taking on board. So just briefly saying that in Brazil, based on international best practice, we're working with the state of Pará in Brazil, with the traffic department there. So very much like the Ministry of Interior, Directors of Traffic. And we did quite a very interesting piece of work there with them that already yielded some amazing results in terms of reduction in road crashes and road deaths. And we did a lot of training, not only in terms of what's the best time to do the checks, where to do the checks, use of breathalyzers. So there was a whole package of training and support that we provided there with some very tangible results. We also have a very interesting program in Eastern Europe, in Bosnia and Serbia, where it's around the use of multidisciplinary crash investigation methodology. And this is based on international best practice as well. And what's interesting there is that topic is really resonating with so many countries. We even have Canada coming to really form a committee that they can take lessons from that project to help to replicate in Canada, but also other countries that are partners to Canada. So the work that we're doing in our project, it's really not just for the country on the ground that we're on the spot supporting, but it's how do we create a global kind of manual or toolkit that people can also kind of learn from to apply on their own. Addressing youth, I mean, we heard from Dr. Mustafa's presentation how heavily impacted our young people are. And so we have quite a few of our programs that are really thinking about how do we keep our youth safer, not just the ones who are behind the wheel, but also the ones who are walking or cycling their bicycles. So looking a lot on urban safety, for example, and how that impacts the users there, which a lot of them are young people. We also look a lot on school zones. So we work in partnership with governments in Vietnam, in Zambia, all over the world, which is about how do we improve the safety around the perimeter of the school. Is there a speed limit that's in place that's appropriate for that? Is there crosswalks? Is the road infrastructure appropriate for children who are, they're children, so we need to keep them safe. So there's a lot of work that we do there, including with urban planners, with educators, with parents as well, with communities, that we work a lot on road infrastructure improvements that will ultimately be benefiting our young people. And then motorcycle safety, which again I mentioned is something I understand is becoming an increasing issue here. This is a big area of focus for us at the UN Road Safety Fund. The last WHO report, it revealed that the motorcyclists are the road user group that is actually increasing the most in terms of exposure to road crashes and road deaths. And so we're particularly concerned about that. I didn't know it was such a big issue here, but it certainly is a humongous issue in Southeast Asia. So we have a lot of programs there. So the point is, there are programs that we do for countries all over the world that, you're welcome to join, to participate in, to learn, to see how does that internalize and apply to the Haren and to the region as well. So a lot more to uncover there, but I just wanted to kind of flag and highlight these few projects that we're doing. So I just wanted to flag this. I mentioned that we have a special envoy for road safety, Jean Todd. That's actually his wife at the top. She's Malaysian, Michelle Yao. She's an Oscar-winning actress. And he created this program, this awareness-raising program, where he has famous people who are doing different road safety messages. Very light, but it's about reaching and engaging the youth. It's about reaching and engaging people who respond to this. There's also another profile of celebrities, which are sports celebrities. So he also works with the gold medalists from the Olympic Championship Games, from UEFA Championship Games, and they also have similar kind of posters. And this partnership is with JCDecaux, which is the #1 billboard company in the world. And they're in almost every country. So you will see the billboards in airports, you will see them at bus stops, you will see them on highways, and they've given us free space to project these campaigns. So it's a partnership that we have with them. They're giving us what they have, which is billboards, and we're giving the content. And we also secure the stars. Jean-Claude is himself very influential, so he knows quite a bit of these people, or knows the people who knows them. So this is working quite well. But I just wanted to flag this because this is an area that we are also working on a lot, which is global awareness and global communications. And I know that some corporations, they like to get involved in that kind of thing. So even though this is just one example, we have others of how we partner with industry to really raise the profile on road safety and to raise awareness, especially among our young people. So this is one of the ways that we can engage with Bahraini stakeholders. So this is a flashy version. We can have an adaptation. We like to launch the campaign in each country that we go to, that Mr. Todd goes to. So we can already plan for such a launch using your own national celebrities here in Manama. So this is just one example of how we can engage with you when it comes to awareness raising. There was another example, but it's gone now, but it's more on the impact level. So another type of partnership, which is our main type of partnership, is we have stakeholders who work with us to basically make sure that we have more programs running. We have stakeholders that come and they say, well, we have a strong interest on data, and we'd love to see more support going to countries in my neighborhood. So in your case, you could say, well, I think, Libya and Tunisia, they need support. Lebanon, let's have a program to support the neighborhood. We will join, we will learn as well, and we will all benefit from the learnings around data. We also have, there was a program that we did in Zambia. It's a road safety investment case. And it's the first of its kind. So essentially, we introduce economic modeling. It's something that we do for other topics like nutrition or alcohol or smoking. We use economic modeling to understand which interventions will give you the best outcome in terms of reducing deaths, but also will give you the best return on financial investment. And so it gives you a sense of where would you put, if you had this amount of money, where would you put it? Would you put it on speed bumps, or would you put it on something else? Would you put it on speed management? Do you put it on building hospitals? So it looks at priority interventions, and it gives you a sense of what would be the best return on investment and over what period of time. And we launched that in Zambia, and as soon as it was released, all the GCC countries were like, okay, sign us up, we would like to do that as well. I mean, they self-funded and have been implementing this methodology on their own, just to have that learning. So there is a benefit to the work that the fund is doing, not just for developing countries, but also for countries like Bahrain and the Gulf. So I'll just close by saying that all of this work that I've just highlighted, it's not me who's doing it. I manage the Secretariat of the UN Road Safety Fund, which is based in Geneva, and the Secretariat is 4 people. And what we're doing is essentially portfolio management. So we are the ones who are engaging with the project implementers to say, these are the priorities, these are the trends, this is what the statistics is saying. We're working with WHO to get, which countries really need the support. So how do we prioritize what we are going to be working on in the future? We're the ones who are doing the strategic planning. We're the ones who are doing the donor engagement and the communications and the annual reporting. But when it comes to on the ground, it's the team on the right, the global partnerships team. They're the ones who are implementing because they're the experts. So, for example, we have UN Environment. They're the lead on our program together with the UN Economic Commission, UNECE, our program for safer and cleaner used vehicles. It's probably not an issue here, but there is no global standard for the level of quality and safety that you will apply when you import a used vehicle. But through our program, which is now global, we started in Africa, then we went to Asia, now we're in Latin America and the Caribbean, which is basically us training the governments to adopt mandatory regulation around the standards of used vehicles that their country will import. And this is amazing because there is a lot of bad stories around unsafe cars that are being imported. And so we're working on that to make sure that countries are not having to accept these unsafe cars which are used. UN Habitat, for example, is the cities expert of the UN system. So they're doing a lot of our cities work on redesigning cities, on engaging with communities to raise awareness and so on. So lots of different expertise here. WHO obviously has a lot to do on our post-crash care work with the Ministry of Health and so forth. And many other examples of partners here. UNICEF working a lot with us with the school safe zones and educating our young people. And then on the other side, we have the funders, the people whose financial support, whether it's cash or in kind, makes it possible for us to do the work. And I'm sure you will recognize one of the flags there at least. But we want to grow this side as well. We've been growing this side because now we have civil society partners. IRAP, some of you may know IRAP, it's the International Road Assessment Program. And they're the ones who are internationally recognized to benchmark the safety of the road. So 3 stars mean it's safe, 5 stars means it's top-notch. So we're working to make sure that at least 75% of the roads by 2030 are 3 stars and above. So we are slowly growing this side as well based on the expertise that we need, but we're certainly also trying to grow the other side as well. I think I will stop here and happy to at some point engage with you all and to answer any questions that you may have. And again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share what the UN is doing on road safety and for flagging some ways that we can work together with you on this agenda. Great.
Thank you, Ms. Nneka Henry, for that enlightening presentation and for sharing the vital role of UN Road Safety Fund and advancing global and local safety initiative. Now the organizers would like to present token of appreciation for presenters and the host. I would like to invite Dr. Mustafa Sayed on the stage. And Ms. Nneka, please remain on the stage to receive a token of appreciation.
Oh, it's for me. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. He wants it to.